time to check out a Stan Kraychik mystery, Book 5. Author, Grant Michaels. Publisher, St. Martin's Press, New York, 1996. Narrator, Eric Aust. Chapter 6. The next morning I awoke hungry for the first time since Rafik's death. Perhaps my old appetite was finally returning. Maybe I was, as they say in the vernacular of a psychopabulum, healing. Maybe I would regain the many lost pounds of avoirdupois and return to my former essence, the down-home heartiness of a Slavic dumpling. I showered, and though I was eager for breakfast, I set out directly for the police station. Lieutenant Sanfuentes had wanted to discuss that mysterious personal matter with me, and I figured my long-lost focus on food could wait a little longer until after that meeting. On the way to the station, I saw that the previous night's storm had left much debris along the sidewalks and streets. Mostly, it was palm fronds and other green leafy things, which made me feel like some kind of homecoming Jesus. But occasionally a huge branch blocked the way, torn from a palm tree's trunk, all brown and broken, with the gauzy underbark exposed like a tattered camisole. The Key West police station was an austere brick building near the intersection of Simonton and Angela Streets. It shared little of the tropical charm of Old Town surrounding it. In his office, Lieutenant Sanfuentes was cordial but direct. "I ran a very thorough check on you up in Boston," he said, "and I got a lot more than I bargained for." "Is there a problem?" "Actually," he said, "it's good news. You got a big shot up in Boston who likes you." "Branco?" I said. "Guy gave you a glowing commendation," said the cop. "They must have got a lot more liberal in Boston." "Is this the personal matter you wanted to discuss?" "Hold your horses," said Sanfuentes. "I'm getting to that." He took out his tin of black mints and tossed a few into his mouth. Licorice and violets filled the air. "See," he said, "we don't get too many murders around here, which is certainly good for tourism. I mean, who wants to visit a place where people are getting killed on a regular basis? You catch my drift?" "Sure," I said, "but..." "And Lieutenant Branco up in Boston told me that you have in the past supplied him with some helpful leads. His exact words were, 'Good help.'" Good help. That was good news coming from someone like Branco, with his big, strong feet planted in terra firma back in Boston. Branco had said something good and reasonable and true about me. Sanfuentes went on. "And he suggested it might be to my benefit to keep the communication between you and myself open." "So you want my help?" Sanfuentes spoke sharply. "Did I say that?" "Not those words." "That's right," said the cop. "Not those words. Just so long as we understand each other. I'm telling you again, though, just to make sure. I didn't ask for your help. I got plenty of people on this case already. Believe me. You won't see them, but they'll see you. Every move. All I'm saying is, if you happen to come across anything that seems, well, irregular, something you hear, something you see, then I hope you'll come by and shoot the breeze with me." "I think I understand, Lieutenant. Will the rest of your staff know about me?" "The people who should know will know," he said. "Sounds easy enough, then," I said. "I sniff around, then tell you what I find." "Kinda like that," he said. Once more he fished out the small tin and popped a few more tiny black granules into his mouth. Once again the air was scented with spice and flowers. Then Sanfuentes said, "You know, now that I think about it, I'd like your report back here daily. Say between 4 and 6 p.m., whether or not you find anything. How's that sound?" "I can manage that." I just want to make sure you're okay." It was a gentle reminder that despite all the good doobie jousting between us, I was still helping track down a killer. San Fuentes handed me a card with his name and number. There was no smiley face above the I in his name. "That number rings directly through to me," he said. "If I'm not here, my beeper goes off. If I don't hear from you in any 24-hour period, and my contacts don't see you, I'm going to assume it's bad news, and we're going to come looking for you. So I've got to report in." "You've got to report in," he echoed. "This is serious work." He thumped his chest with his middle finger. "And I'm responsible for you." Most straight men don't have the guts to say something like that to someone like me. "You can go now," he said. And that's how the Key West police engaged my unofficial help in their investigation of Augusta Willitt's murder. In his own way, Lieutenant San Fuentes had been friendly toward me. Not quite what I'd expect from a cop in the southernmost part of the Deep South. Then again, as a Cubano, he'd probably had to work extra hard to prove himself worthy of his position. Maybe our common struggle for acceptance made the guy sympathetic to me. I was absolutely ravenous when I left the station. On the way to breakfast, I passed the Echo Me gallery, which was open. I went in to say hello, maybe even invite Jared Ballami to breakfast. We could have a civilized talk about art and life over coffee and omelets. It was unlikely that she'd have any customers at that early hour, but I was wrong. Through the open door, I saw that Adolf Doberman was in the gallery, and he was arguing with Jerry. His back was toward the door, and Jerry was out of my sight line, but I heard them both clearly. "My dear young girl," said Adolf, "I simply want to take some of your work back to Germany. You should be delighted." "There's nothing simple about you," Jerry said angrily. "You already stole that one from the crow's nest." Doberman laughed. "Silly girl, why should I steal your painting? What proof do you have?" "Because I wouldn't give it to you," said Jerry. "I offered to you a fair price, just as I am doing now, for these illustrations. If you think they're so worthless, Mr. Doberman, why don't you take your money somewhere else?" Doberman shook his head ruefully. "Too much temperament." Then he cast his gaze around the gallery as if appraising its true worth and net income per square foot. "I think perhaps I will buy this building and make a charming cafe. The tourists will come for Black Forest cake and mocha mit schlag. They will attract a high quality of people." "Get out of here," screamed Jerry. "Out, you filthy landowner pig." A gecko scurried across the wooden porch floor in front of me, and then I felt the springy slats move slightly under my feet. I turned to see Joshua Ateem standing behind me. His mirrored shades couldn't conceal his amusement. Adolf Doberman appeared in the doorway as he called back to Jared Tikar inside. "We shall see who wins this little game of cat and mouse, Fräulein Tikir." A half-used tube of cadmium white paint came flying out the door and bounced along the porch. Adolf Doberman laughed jovially and said, "You missed." And then he lit a cigarette and puffed at it nervously. He passed us briskly. "Good morning, gentlemen," he said amiably, nodding at us with sunglass-covered eyes. And then he continued on his way, heading up Fleming Street, leaving little puffs of smoke in his wake. Joshua chuckled and said to me, "Typical morning in Key West. Did you enjoy the fight?" "I didn't hear much," I said. "Funny. I was standing behind you and I heard every word." "It's nobody's business," I said. He shrugged. "You live here a while. You learn to enjoy other people's business." The dark stubble on Joshua's face reminded me to shave soon. On him, it was sexy. On me, it was grubby. Joshua talked on, his sunglasses concealing what his eyes were saying. If you came by our place this morning, you could have watched Edsel Sham signing books. You sell books, Joshua said. It's part of a package tour we're doing on Key West writers. I said, will you feature the famous Arthur lounging by his new pool? Fucking wading pool, muttered Joshua. It's a big deal to him. He likes to brag about it, said Joshua, but size isn't everything. He may have the longest one on the island, but so what? Ken Kimball's has much better proportions, with good details up and down the whole thing, and then that beautifully sculpted bottom. Jared Takir appeared in the doorway. I thought I heard voices out here, she said. It sounds like you two are talking about swimming pools, I said quickly. Ken Kimball has the real show place, continued Joshua. All landscape with flowers and ground cover. Trees all around. Very private. I said, what is it with all the swimming pools here? It's an island surrounded by tropical waters, yet everyone has a pool. They think the water is poison, said Jerry. No one who lives here goes in the water. And Joshua added, the only safe place is the Oside Lagoon. They filter it. Imagine that. They filter the goddamn ocean. I told him I already knew that, which only irked him more. Jerry said to me, has Ken Kimball invited you to his place yet? Kind of, I said. You should go, said Joshua, especially if he's having one of his parties. Usually, Ken lives like a monk, but then he flips out and goes the other extreme. Jerry said, Augusta Willitt used to organize police raids to stop them. Raids? I said. Why? Why do you think? Said Joshua with another shrug. She wanted Peter all to herself. Peter? Her son, said Jerry. I told you about him yesterday. I know, I said, but I don't get it. Police raids against Peter and Ken? Joshua said, I thought you knew everything, Mr. Encyclopedia. Is Ken gay? I said. He straddles, said Jerry. Joshua added, and sometimes he falls off. So, I said, dead Augusta's dead son, Peter, was attracted to Ken Kimball. But neither man dared to act on it. But Augusta was still jealous, so she called the police about Ken's parties, trying to stop them so her son Peter wouldn't be tempted to explore his own sexual urges anymore. Wow, said Jerry. Are you some kind of shrink? I tried to be one once, Joshua said. I can see why you flopped. Well, boys, said Jerry, suddenly impatient. You'll excuse me, but I've got work to do. We're not here together, I said quickly. Well, smell you, said Joshua. Then he said to Jerry, Laura and I want to help you. You want to buy a painting, said Jerry. No, but we heard about the one that was stolen from the crow's nest, and we thought maybe you'd like to hang a few pieces in our place. We get a lot of people buying boat tours and tickets to the coach trains, so your work would get a lot of exposure, maybe sell faster. But that's exactly how I got burnt, said Jerry, by hanging a painting for the tourists to see, and then someone stole it. Josh said, Laura thought you'd be happy about it. Thanks anyway, said Jerry. I'll manage on my own. I offered her the consolation that usually only great art was stolen. Joshua said to me, if you don't want to have breakfast with me, do you have $4.50 I can borrow? I need cigarettes. I only have a 20, I said. That's fine, he said. I can pay you back. But I'm going to buy my breakfast. Go to Camille's, said Joshua. You can charge it there. There's a bank machine next door. Maybe you should try the bank machine, I said. I lost my card, whined Joshua. Jerry said, can you two argue about cash somewhere else? I'd like to get back to work. I took out my wallet and pulled out the $20 bill. As I handed it to Joshua, I said, were you at the crow's nest any time yesterday morning? Joshua snatched the bill from my fingers. You think I did something? Maybe. Like what? I don't know, I said. And that's why I'm asking. He sniggered. You better be careful. You're showing signs of tropical fever. And just then, Joshua's cellular phone signaled an incoming call. He answered it, made some obscure monosyllabic sounds, then ended the call quickly. Gotta run, he said to me and Jerry. Thanks for the loan. Then he laughed and headed back up Fleming Street. For her part, Jared Ballami declined my invitation to breakfast. She wanted to pay. Now that was real discipline, putting art before food. So I headed down to Duval alone to find Camille's and get some breakfast. At one of the cross streets, a pink taxicab passed by. It had dark, heavily tinted windows, just like the one that had trailed me the previous night. I got a quick make on the license plate. K-E-Y Cab. At Duval Street, I headed toward Camille's Cafe, which had been my destination even before Joshua had mentioned it. The desk clerk at the Jared Ballami House had raved about the buckwheat pancakes with fresh fruit, and their cafe caliche, the Cuban version of cafe latte, was purported to be the best on the reef, bar none. On my brief stroll along Duval Street, the tourists were already crowding the sidewalks. Many of them comprised oddly mismatched honeymoon couples. Hunky, Adonis-like grooms craned their necks to cruise other muscle men passing by, while their brides looked on confounded, as if to say, he never looked at other men before he joined the gym. I paused on the sidewalk outside Camille's and took in a bit more of the tourist trade before going inside. A voice behind me said, See anything you like? It was Edsel Sham. I see a lot that amuses me, I said, gauging from his dark sunglasses. I wondered if he could see anything at all. I heard you were signing books at the Fleming Lemming. That took only a few minutes, said Edsel. I put a pen in my hand, then turned on the autograph machine, and away it goes. He laughed. I told him what I'd been speculating about the married couples walking along Duval Street. He said, I hope you're not one of those people who thinks everyone is secretly gay. No, I said, just the usual 10 or 20%. That many, he said with a chortle. Well, I'm not. Then I guess you're in the other 80 or 90%. I like gay people, though, he said without apology. I use them in my books whenever I want to spice things up. Just like real life, I said. The court jesters. Edsel Sham laughed uncertainly and said, Can I take you to breakfast? But, sir, I said coyly, we hardly know each other. What better reason, then, he said. Besides, haven't you ever depended on the kindness of strangers? He spoke the words as if he had found their magical combination all by himself. Tennessee Williams, I said. Edsel smiled self-consciously. I sometimes tune into his residual energy here on the island. I've been quoting him a lot lately, and I'll confess, I'm lonely for stimulating talk down here. It's nothing like New York or L.A., and when I met you yesterday, you impressed me as being pretty smart. That's partly why I'm inviting you to breakfast for myself. You want to walk your wits around the block with me? That's right, he said. A new voice in the wilderness. Have you been to Camille's yet? That's exactly where I was going, I said. Then you shall be my guest, said best-selling Edsel Sham as he opened the door for me. Gay Mysteries audiobooks. I think it is easy to hate a label, but a face humanizes the word. So this effort is twofold. To offer comfort to those like myself that your world didn't end because you don't fit into the view of acceptable society on both sides. And in hopes of helping those with family that are LGBTQ, that it doesn't mean we are aliens from the child they once knew. Reassure them so they can maybe be supportive at the same time, being true to their values.